G'day everyone, welcome to the Bothy. I'm Chris.
G'day, I'm Al.
So the South Australian election is run, won and almost...
Yep. I mean, obviously, disappointing to see how many Labour voters came out to vote, but I'm pretty happy with the percentage of One Nation. I mean, 23% of the whole population of South Australia voted for them.
It shows that those polls weren't just polls.
Yeah.
Now they've got some accurate data.
They got them pretty close to right.
Exactly right. That was always 23%, and it ended up being 23%.
It's just a shame. I mean, I've only started getting into how the voting system works, and it just doesn't seem like I argue with my son. He loves Labour. Don't ask me why, but he explains to me why it is what it is, and it's much fairer than like America and stuff, and
or Europe, where you have all the parties come together.
But I don't like it, man. Do not like it. There's a lot of seats, and to get almost a quarter of the population vote behind you,
and not really have any more power.
And Liberals still got 4 or 5 seats, didn't they?
6. Labor obviously won. Peter Malinauskas he's a popular leader, mate.
Yeah.
He's on the right side of the Labor Party, which is unusual. And he does remind me a lot of Jeff Kennett. He's got that charisma. He loves the sport.
Yeah.
He seems to be a people person. Probably not Jeff Kennett. Probably a bit more Bob Hawke. A bit more of a man of the people. Than perhaps some of the others. Liberal lost a lot of seats. They lost a lot of votes, a lot of pride, a lot of respect, a lot of hope. And I guess this is what happens when the Formula leader was a drug dealer, mate.
Oh, my God. How ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And he wasn't the only one. They had a couple that were facing criminal charges.
Well, I mean, they think they're untouchable, don't they?
What the hell? I mean, we know all politicians are criminals, but these ones are actually caught.
I know. I mean, to do the crime and actually get caught for it. It's... Oh, something's working. But
they get caught selling drugs, not ripping off the people, which is what we believe, most of them. So they're now completely irrelevant in South Australia. They've won 6 seats, but they didn't get any of them. I mean,
what was their drop? 16% or?
Well, they went from 2 elections ago. They had 25 seats and won the election. Then to 16 last election, 6 in this one, and I think they were down to, I'm going to say 12 to 14%.
Oh, really? I thought they were still on like 19%.
No, I don't think so. No. But I'll clarify it and put it down the bottom. One Nation won 23%, as you mentioned, of the vote to place second, but what did they actually win? So you said one lower house seat. They have one. It's in
Definitely,
the bag. There's a very real possibility of another in Hammond, and they're also holding very slight leads in Narunga and McKillop. But the way the preference system will work, there's every chance that those preferences won't end up going to One Nation because all the other parties ganged up on them, mate. So I would say 2 would be my guess.
And so that's lower house.
That's the lower house.
And upper house?
Upper house.
They've got a chance of 4.
They've won 2 and there's still 1 up for grabs. And they're...
Oh, I thought there was another 2 up for grabs.
No, only 1. No. So that's only half the seats went up for voting. So
that's right. It was only 11 up, wasn't it?
11 up out of the 22, So they'll end up with 2, maybe 3 out of 22. So not control, but a voice. It'll still be Labor and the Greens that control it. But for next election, it gives them a better chance of getting some control. What this has done is positioned One Nation well for the next election and said to Labor and Victoria,
pull your socks up.
This is not polling. This is voting and they're coming. So overall, Labor's vote actually decreased, but they increased their majority, So their vote comes down 2%, but they went from 27 to 33 seats, which isn't the result people were looking for. So great for One Nation. Lots of votes gained, but a warning for Victorians. If Victorians do the same,
I know.
We get stuck with the same.
We get stuck with Labour.
Yeah, exactly right.
But we shouldn't be like coerced and like frightened of something.
No.
So we need to all come out.
Double down, mate.
Yeah, we need to go, you know what, I've been thinking about One Nation. I'm not 100% sure, but the alternative is crap. So I'm just going to go with One Nation.
We've got to double down on what we truly believe. Let's have a very quick look at the Victorian last election map, which surprised us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of green there for 4% of the vote, mate. Almost all the state's green. There's a tiny, pissy little bit of light green in the middle, which is the Greens.
Yep.
And that's 14% of the vote.
But you now realise why they don't give a shit about farmers.
It doesn't mean anything to them.
Get less than 5% of the vote.
Yep.
They do not give a crap.
Yep. Exactly right.
You can see why.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it right.
No, it doesn't. Exactly right. So while the majority of landmass is national, it doesn't equate to very much of the vote. Greens actually won 11.5%.
With that tiny little bit.
Yeah, but it's heavily populated. And you've said, if people in the cities start standing up.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. In South Australia, One Nation took Liberals' vote. In Victoria, they're taking Jacinta's vote. Yeah. So it is a bit different. But with the Greens, they're hanging around. The Greens are voting higher than they ever have as well, or polling higher than they ever have as well. So in order to see real change, it's no good if One Nation win 25% of the vote in Victoria, mate. They've got to win 35 or 40% and hope to get enough preferences to get them into power, because for what I believe, and you believe for probably all the wrong reasons, nobody will support them.
No.
Yep. So it's up to the people who control their own preferences to say, hang on a minute, I'm not going to listen to what that party tells me to put as my preference. If I'm going to vote Labor or I'm going to vote Liberal and they're knocked out, then I will choose where my preference goes rather than following party lines.
Well, I mean, how many, was it preference votes that got Labor through the last election?
No, they got through on their own rights, but it was the Labor preferences in the upper house that got the Animal Justice Party and the Legalised Cannabis Party.
Yep.
I mean, Animal Justice Party got their seat in the Legislative Council with 1.5% of the votes, mate. Come on.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
We have the worst system in the Legislative Council that you have.
Yeah, definitely.
Where preferences are handed out by the parties.
Yep.
If you only put a one above the line and don't fill the whole thing in, then parties get to choose where those preferences go. And that's
well, as I say, unfortunately, I've voted for them in the past and Animal Justice as well. Ooh. Never again.
No, exactly.
Never again.
So as it stands right now, it looks to me like One Nation will gain a huge section of the vote in Victoria. They will. They'll be 25%, I reckon. But it might not be enough to dislodge Labor. I think they're going to need more. So can Jess Wilson gather the masses and lead them back toward Liberal? I'm not sure she can, mate. You're not a huge fan.
Nah, I don't like her.
But I've got a feeling her position's getting stronger. If you looked at the poll that came out this morning, Liberal have now gone past Labor on party votes, and on two-party preferred, they are 52 to 48 ahead of Labor, and that's the first time that's been the case in ages. And I think that's why Labor are preparing to say to Jacinta, I'm not sure if you're going to be leading us through the next election.
Yeah.
Because she's seriously unpopular now.
Yeah, I know.
And becoming more popular every day.
Well, I mean, no one voted for her, did they?
No.
Apart from her own party.
That poll showed that 78% of Victorians said that their biggest concern was state debt. Thank God.
Yeah.
People are waking up.
Sometimes you think people are sleeping at the wheel, but that at least seems like there are more people awake than I thought.
Yeah. They say that debt is having an impact on healthcare, education. It's causing higher taxes and it's
children's future.
It's a burden left for the future. Exactly right, mate. How are they going to be able to pay this money down?
Well, they won't.
They won't. Exactly right. And in that very, very same poll, 33% of Victorians also said that Jacinta Allen is doing a good job and deserves another term.
How many percent?
33%. Now, that's 67 that said she doesn't.
Yeah.
But what are 33% of people thinking? It was actually really interesting.
People, but don't you think some people have always been Labor, will never move from Labor no matter what they do because they're Labor? They were the ones that got people decent pay back in the day when we were treated like nothing more than servants.
Unions.
And the unions brought the pays up, and that was ultimately a great thing for people that were underpaid and under like they weren't paid their worth.
Yep.
And I agree. Brilliant.
Yeah.
But these politicians, these Labour politicians, they've never worked a day in their life.
Yeah.
They're not people persons.
No.
They're politicians who became politicians without But none of them know how to cut a bit of bloody wood. None of them know how to buy a loaf of bread or go down to the supermarket and get some milk. Remember years ago when they asked him how much milk was? He didn't know.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to pretend to you that I go out each day and I buy a loaf of bread and I buy a litre of milk. I'm not going to pretend to you that I do that. And I'll leave those sort of things to you, mate.
He doesn't know what's going through the general population's lives and what we're going through.
No.
He has no idea.
All they focus on is their ideology and their virtue signalling, and that's more important than everything else. And the working class in particular is getting smashed. The point is, terrific result for One Nation in South Australia. Hopefully it's the tip of the iceberg. Because if they're going to take power in Victoria, they're going to need a lot more than 23% of the vote. They're going to need more like 35 to 40.
Well, I mean, I've only got a small bunch of people I can relate to.
Yeah,
if I polled all my people, I reckon it'd be 90% One Nation, because everybody I know is sick of what we have now.
Yep.
They've had enough.
There's no doubt that the people that we know that are similar to us aren't the wealthy.
No.
Right? We need some relief.
We need. Sometimes it's just about getting rid of a bad apple and having a look for a better one. It's not about, oh, there's a nice apple, that's the one I want. You just got to get rid of the bad apple before it ruins everything.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. Vote the shit out.
Yeah, exactly right. Well said. All right, everyone, let us know what you think. What needs to happen in Victoria if they're to be successful? And then we've got another election in New South Wales early next year. Yeah, this will carry on now right through to the federal election.
And no matter what happens, even if they only get 27, 28% of the vote, it'll put a ripple through the whole thing. And all right, we may have to suffer for another.
We've said.
Yeah, I know.
We're
leaving.
We're moving.
All right, we're moving.
Guaranteed, the Bothy changes states if Jacinda Allen gets back in.
Yeah, but it might not be. It probably won't be Jacinda.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably be somebody else.
Yeah.
You're right. Somebody worse.
Somebody more evil.
Yeah, great. All right. Let us know what you think, everyone.
Cheers, guys. See ya.
Yeah.